How are you doing, everybody? Welcome back into the SFS channel. My name's Gavin, and in this episode, I'm going to be diving into 5 running backs that I'll be trading for after Week 9 fantasy football. Whether it's a developing situation, something that we've been aware of for a couple of weeks now, we'll be talking through why all these players have viable trading prices right now, and why I think that going forward, these players' stocks will be increasing and becoming more valuable lineup pieces for us going forward. So, as always, if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe to the SFS channel. We're posting fancy content around here every day of the week and getting you guys the information you need to crush your leagues this year. Additionally, if you guys have any trade questions or scenarios for your teams, feel free to drop that stuff down in the comment section below. It's always welcome here, and I get back to as many comments as I possibly can every single week. So take advantage of me as a resource, you guys. Check out our community Discord in the description of today's episode as well. And let's dive into my first buy candidate for this week. All right, let's kick off today's episode with James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this has been one that I've had my eye on for quite some time now, and it's finally, I believe, coming to fruition. I talked about this in the lessons learned or takeaways episode from Week 9 action yesterday. If you want to go check out that video, of course, it's up on the channel in our Week 10 playlist. But basically, I've seen this as a situation where every single week that James Conner was out of the lineup for the Cardinals, his stock continued to dip incrementally every single week. And I felt a lot of panicking and a lot of frustration from owners over that course of time since, of course, he went out with the rib injury, and before that was the ankle early in the season. So it's been a tough road for James Conner this year. It hasn't been the most endurable season for owners of in fantasy leagues, but this is a player that has top 24 weekly lineup value when inserted into this lineup. And I was really impressed, and I was really reassured by the basic things that we saw from him this week. There were some key stats that I felt very comfortable taking away from this game and continuing to have this as a one more week buy low window, because I think that this is the week where, moving forward out of this matchup from Week 9, that you can go forward with Conner, having confidence with him in your lineups for the rest of this season. So for James Conner, it's a situation where he's been out for multiple games now with this rib injury, and he comes back in Week 9 against Seattle and immediately takes over a 71% of the snap count percentage for this offense. So typically what we expect in running backs in their first game back after missing multiple performances is that they're going to have some decreased level of touches and opportunities in their offense, and that, of course, that snap count percentage is going to be a bit lower as well. But what Conner did, despite the fact that Benjamin's been balling out in his absence, and despite the fact that there's been other players having fantasy success in this offense at his position, again, comes in, has a high-level snap count percentage, has 12 touches leading the backfield, 5 touches for Benjamin, who only had a 27% snap count percentage. So really encouraging numbers to see. Again, things that made me feel really comfortable with Conner going forward. And hopefully this week at the Rams, he's able to take advantage of that and really finally get his season on track here, because to this point, it's been quite the frustrating situation. But I do think there is reason for hope and optimism, of course, coming away from this week's games. Aaron Jones, next up here, my number 2 running back to buy for Week 10 action. This is one that we're kind of buying on the, panic in the community right now. This is a situation where there's a lot of scared emotions from Aaron Jones fantasy owners circulating out there because of the fact that he got injured. He only played 41% of the snaps. That's a direct result of him being injured. It had nothing to do with A.J. Dillon, accruing more of the backfield work than per se he has earlier in the season. This was simply a health-related concern. So he leaves the game with an ankle injury. He has, at first, an inconclusive x-ray on his ankle. They take another look at it, or I'm not really sure if they did another round of ankle x-rays, but basically they came back negative. It sounds like he's going to be able to practice this week. It sounds like they're going to be optimistic and hope that he can see the field this week, and that's great news because, of course, players that are concerned about this ankle issue and the potential for re-injury, of course, and the situation where there's just more negative feelings about him in the trade market, will be looking to sell after this down performance, only having 11 touches for 45 yards. Again, this is all a simple answer. The answer is The ankle. The answer is he just wasn't, physically available for this team for over half of the contest this week. And as a result, you're going to see those numbers dip down, an increased valuation of A.J. Dillon this week, and obviously some pessimistic feelings towards Aaron Jones' fantasy stock as the Packers offense once again continues to struggle mightily in this game. So Aaron Jones, looking at him as a fringe RB1 level player going forward, and obviously a buy low candidate for this week, someone to take advantage of. This offense just lost Romeo Doubs. Aaron Jones dodged a bullet here this week. They're going to be more desperate than ever to get their most talented playmakers to football. And if Aaron Jones wasn't already that clear solution for this team throughout the vast majority of this season, now losing yet another key player at the wide receiver position reestablishes and reaffirms him into that role as a guy who needs to be involved in all phases of the offense, the run game, the pass game, and obviously factored into all of those scenarios. DeAndre Swift, one more week here. We're taking a swing at the bat. If you're desperate for running back help, there's probably no one at a cheaper price with more upside right now than DeAndre Swift, who just came off of a season-low 16% snap count percentage, yet I thought was absolute dynamite with the football in his hands this week. He scored more points this week than he had touches. He had 6.5 points on 5 touches, 6 opportunities in the game. So, of course, he didn't deliver starting level production, but for a guy off of a 16% snap count, that's pretty good. Jamal Williams, conversely, is coming off of a season-high 61% snap count percentage. This stems back from last week after hearing that the ankle and shoulder still were not 100%, and that Dan Campbell wanted to reel him back and make sure that he's 100% healthy and ready to go as the season continues to progress here. So for Swift, this is a player that I feel very, very good about his usage and role in this offense. The reception total was telling here, or at least the efficiency, not necessarily the total. He had just, it was 3 receptions on 4 targets for 40 yards, so 13 and a third yards per catch there. All very good stuff. So you just need to see that involvement and usage ramp up here. We need to see him get healthy for him to maximize the production and truly be 100% of himself and the player that we know he can be for fantasy lineups, because what that player is extremely explosive, efficient, a dual and dynamic threat that contributes, conversely in the rushing and receiving phases, a dream fantasy scenario. And this offense, when he was clicking, this offense was motoring. It's very telling to me that since DeAndre Swift leaves the offense for this team, their offensive system has plummeted over the last, 6 or so weeks of this season. Dating back to week 4 is kind of when their offense peaked out there after having a couple of Jamal Williams good games in the immediate absence of Swift. But you see kind of the correlation there. Hopefully DeAndre Swift can be a positive for himself and everyone else involved. I think there's a lot of upside again to still capitalize on him for this season. Jonathan Taylor, I can't help myself here, but we continue to buy him in instances where the team that is buying is in an appropriate situation. So I feel that I didn't do a good enough job last week of laying out the specific qualifications that I have for teams to go out and buy Jonathan Taylor. This is not a one-size-fits-all move to make for every roster. There are teams in positions to buy Jonathan Taylor. There are teams in positions to sell him potentially, and there are a lot of teams in potential positions to hold him. If I'm a team that does not have Jonathan Taylor rostered and I'm looking to go buy him, my qualifications are very, very simple. This is a team move that is risky. You have to be willing and frankly capable of handling and gritting through this risk with the potential that it may not work out perfectly here in order to make this trade. If this is a trade you're making with your season on the line, you're a team that's on the rope for playoff consideration and contention here, you can't trade for Jonathan Taylor. If you need production now, again, not a move you're trying to make here. So this is a trade for front-running rosters, guys that have the cushion to go out and make a deal, understanding that it might cost them a game or two in the immediate future because the play is for upside and long-term usage for fantasy teams here. So again, if you're looking to buy Jonathan Taylor, you need to have a buffer, like you're a safe playoff contender right now and are comfortable losing a game, potentially two, if you lose a key lineup asset to go out and make this move. So there are very good opportunities out there to buy low for him right now. But again, not every situation is going to reap you the success you want to. Look at last week. There's a lot of offers out there. Joe Mixon for JT straight up. and whether you took that deal or not, if you have Mixon today, you're feeling really good about that. If you don't, you're probably grimacing through the pain right now of missing him. I expect JT to be back this week, not this week. In week 11 is when I would anticipate that he returns to the field and is available for this Colts team. They have a late week 14 bye, so keep your eye on that. Expect the potential to possibly be without him again this week. And things in Indianapolis have continued to hit the fan. Jeff Saturday is the new offensive head coach for this team. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if he's an offensive head coach. I'm assuming he played center in the NFL and was a multi-time Pro Bowler, but is a very interesting stat here, or fact. He's the first player or coach in NFL history to have and land a head coaching job for an NFL team with no prior collegiate or NFL coaching experience. So, Jim Irsay, what are you doing? That in and of itself is enough to panic on Jonathan Taylor and beg the question of should you be selling him for a lower price. So, adding to that, further fire here. If I'm Coach Saturday, the simple thing for me to do is turn my quarterback around and hand the football off 30 times a game. We'll see if that happens, but I don't expect too much creative play calling here for an offense that has been sputtering throughout much of this season. Finally, James Robinson, the last buy candidate I have at the running back position for Week 10 is J-Rob, again, of the New York Football Jets. I really liked what I saw from him here this week, and this is another risky buy, but I do think there's some intriguing upside here, and of course, we're going to dive right into that. So, for James Robinson, this is a player that, as I said, is risky, but I do think that there's a very real potential for reward here. In Week 9, his second game as a Jet, he had a 40% snap count percentage against the Buffalo Bills. This is better than I was expecting. This is a team that I was shocked to see pull off the upset. And at the end of the day, they got the game script they were looking for. As a result, James Robinson led this team in rushing attempts, again, in his second game as a New York Jet, and also scored a receiving touchdown. So you've got kind of a dual involvement here for J-Rob, led the team in terms of the backfield touch distribution. He had the most touches of any New York Jets running back, and I'll say it a third time, I believe, here in his second game as a Jet. Telling things for me. This team gave up draft compensation. While it may be late draft compensation, they still gave it up to acquire his services here, and they are looking for a back that they feel is sturdy enough to handle early down usage and be the lead rusher for this team. We know Michael Carter's talented. He was very efficient this past week. He's coming off of a great game here. Spoiler alert, you're going to hear his name in another trade episode today. Go check that out after you're done watching this one. But for James Robinson, this is the player that if I had to put my money on one of these two options to be the most productive lead running back for this Jets offense, I would put my money on James Robinson. I think he has the better structure to score touchdowns here. We did see Michael Carter get a red zone touch, a 6-yard touchdown run. But again, the bigger, more bruising back is James Robinson. You've also got a player heading into a bye week here. Players in crisis cannot afford to wait through that Week 10 bye week and just hope things are better on the other side of the Week 10 turnaround heading into Week 11. For J-Rob, you get 2 more weeks here to learn and have a better understanding of the offense, grow your role, and expand your usage for this team. There's a lot of positive things I think you can take away here if you're looking for J-Rob as a potential buy low candidate here. And honestly, you're not buying him super low, but I do think that because Michael Carter still outshined him in this game, that creates a situation where there's a little bit of a dilemma amongst Jets running back holders about what do we do here? Do I sell high? Do I hold? And what that case is. So for James Robinson, I'm making him a target here for this week's games. Again, teams are in desperation mode. The running back crop last week was exceptionally weak. Very, very, very poor. Week 9, I think, you had guys like Jerick McKinnon up there in the tops of the fantasy scoring. Other players, Jeff Wilson, fresh off the trade deadline as well. It was one of the top 10 running backs for Week 9. So very shocking stuff that unfolded in last week's games. Take advantage of it. These are 5 running backs, again, to recap. James Conner, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, and James Robinson that I'm looking to go out here and buy for Week 10 action. As always, if you guys enjoyed today's episode, make sure to smash that like button before you head on out. Again, let me know your trade conversations and questions in the comment section below. I'm happy to be a tool and a resource for as many of you as I possibly can. So last note before we head on out of today's episode, if you guys are looking for some additional content from me here at SFS, check out Underdog Fantasy. They are obviously our big partner here for this NFL season. When you guys use code SFS to sign up for Underdog, if you've not done so already, you're going to get access to my DMs on our community Discord server to message me whenever you'd like about any of your questions for an upcoming week's matchup. Or waiver wire trade, lineups, whatever it might be. You're going to get access to that, as well as my weekly positional rankings to help you set your lineups for every week's games. I also post bi-weekly positional rankings, bi-weekly positional rankings for the rest of the season. So rest of season rankings for all positions go up live on my website. You'll get access to all that stuff for free when you use code SFS on Underdog as a thank you for supporting the channel here. So again, deposit on Underdog, $10 or more, get double your money. Code SFS, check out their platform. It's great. I love doing prop bets on Sunday afternoons. Makes my Sunday a bit more spicy and a bit more fun. Allows me a 101st way to engage with those games every single week long of this NFL season. So thanks so much, you guys, for tuning into today's episode. I will see you in another trade video for week 10. Go check that stuff out. It's all live on the channel now, and I will see you there. Peace out.